We're going to talk a little bit about that that theme that runs through this book. Now, tell us a little bit, Kenny. Tell us a little bit about what part of this story grabbed you. The process was that you, Mark, wrote the book, and then you would send it to Kenny via email.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, we would. I would come over to the house, and he'd have it written out in longhand. I'd sit down and read through it, and then kind of bounce some ideas off of him and see what he thought, and then I'd take everything home and kind of put it into book form.
Wonderful. Did you write it a chapter at a time, or did you develop the characters? How on earth do you write a book?
Yeah.
And this is I got to tell you, folks, this is a magnificently written story. I mean, this is a beautifully developed story with rich characters. You fall in love with all the girls. There's a girl here named Clara, breaks my heart. I'm in love with her. It's just the characters and the interaction of the characters and the friendship between the men, and we'll touch on that. But what was there a character in here that that grabbed you, and did you feel like you got to know?
Well, I love the character of Tom. I mean, I'm amazed by history and to get to hear some of the stories that he was telling about his great uncle, and then to see that guy get transplanted into the future. I mean, how he would handle things like even just turning on a light switch or using a toilet. I mean,
that scene was a scream. I mean, Mark, one of the best parts of the book, I thought, one of the parts I enjoyed the most was when your character, whose name is Mark, DelGross, you use names now from the lives of people that you know. Is that right?
That's right. All the people in this book have, at one time lived. Okay, most of these people are people from actually existed in 1930s, 1940s. Last one died, I think, 1951.
So you've sort of woven these characters around people that you knew and embellished them.
Yeah, Clara was actually my grandmother and your great-grandmother.
There was a scene, one of the most powerful scenes in this whole book, and it happens early on. Is Mark, who is the soldier in the Korean War, gets hit, wakes up, and he's walking up this dirt road and realizes he is actually at the farm where he spent his childhood summers with and spent all this time with Uncle Tom. And he's walking up the dirt road and he's realizing, wait, I know this house, and I know these people, and I know that lady on the porch. And suddenly gets this realization that the lady on the porch is pregnant with your grandmother.
That's true.
What a skit. Now, it was, so that soldier had some information about what he was seeing because he knew the stories from Uncle Tom.
Yeah.
Uncle Tom had a much less graceful...
He had a much harder time because Mark knew all about the Civil War, knew all about the battles, knew when it was going to end, knew who was going to win. He knew all these things, but poor old Tom knew nothing.
Can you imagine?
Absolutely.
It's traumatic
nothing.
enough getting shot, but can you imagine waking up 99 years later?
Yeah.
But
on the flip side of the character of Mark, though, too, is that he has to keep everything quiet because he knows when the war's going to end. He knows that that this is his great-grandmother that he's seeing. So, and he has to keep it all to himself. He can't spill the beans about what's happened to him, or he could alter time, or he could cause some serious damage. And he does make some mistakes along the way in the book, but
and they transport without provocation. So and they retain the memory, do they not?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do. Well, the other thing is there's an angel involved in it, and he kind of keeps them both straight. He helps Tom a lot more than he helps Mark. But
do you feel that every soldier does have one?
I think every soldier has a guardian angel. Thank God.
Okay.
But yeah, it's very interesting about Tom, though, when he gets in there. What I wrote about is how would I feel if I had been in a hospital and woke up and knew nothing about anything, not even a light bulb or anything like that. It was just amazing, that I could even think that way. It was amazing to myself.
Now, they wake up and they look physically like they actually replace each other's bodies.
Yes, they do.
So Mark wakes up and everyone's calling him Tom.
Yeah.
Yep.
And,
Now then there's an interesting thing that happens. Now let's talk about the girls. Let's talk about the girls, and let's talk about that girl back home and what impact that has on the daily life of a soldier, and what that presence of those women in this story brings to this book. I thought they were fascinating women. Let's talk about the ladies.
well, the women actually were my relatives and yours and Kenny's too. One was my grandmother, one was my aunt, one was my grandaunt, and one was my great-grandmother. And these women were actually really, what the word would be, gung-ho for it during the war, okay?
For their time, yeah.
In the Civil War, they were really all out, you know. You don't see that too much today.
No. They were all about their men and their family. They were all about men.
Yep.
They were all about
They were all about their soldiers and caring for their soldiers and everything else. But yeah, it's not like that today. At least I don't see it like that today.
Would you be a soldier today?
No, tell you the truth, I would not. Although I love my country, but I don't think so. I don't think so.
It's not the same.
You need the backing of the public. That's what you need.
I think also to be a soldier too, you have to have unbelievable courage. I mean, the book kind of touches on that a little bit, and he tried to kind of convey that to me. I never fought in a war before, so it was hard for me to kind of fathom being faced, you know, life and death situation like that every day. But the book kind of touches on the fact that, you know, what would happen if you froze or you didn't do what you were supposed to do in the face of you know, a battle. And these guys, that happens to them, and both characters kind of parallel fates, and it's part of the reason why they get transported is that to kind of redeem themselves because of kind of freezing at the moment when their people needed them the most, especially in a battle situation. So.
Was it cathartic to write it? Were you at peace with everything that had gone on at wartime by the time you came to this? And what honor, you started writing this book when you were 75 years old?
Yeah, I think it took us about 2 years, didn't it?
What were you, what did you want to do with this the most? What is your hope for this book and this expectation? What would you like to see happen with this story?
Well, what we'd like to see it, you know, really published and the whole public get a hold of one. To try to convey soldier stories, okay? Most of the time, soldiers are not soldiers because they want to be. They're soldiers because they have to be. And draftees, enlisted, it makes no difference. But a soldier story should be told. Not generals or colonels, but the guys that actually have to do the fighting, and which is privates and PFCs and corporals and sergeants. One of the highest casualty rates, second lieutenants and sergeants, the leaders, okay? But they're the guys that fight the war, the privates. They're the ones that should be remembered. And I hope that this book helps them along somehow or another.
Would you encourage other people from your generation, what Tom Brokaw calls the greatest generation, to tell those stories? Because they weren't. This generation of people did not come back and blather on and whine about the war. Everybody kind of came back and went back to business.
Well, yeah, they come back out of the service and they start making their own lives. If we were the greatest generation, okay, I'm glad to hear that, but yeah, I don't really know. I knew a lot of veterans, okay. I never heard anybody saying, well, I got called up, I had to do this, I had to do that. They came home and went back to work.
Honor wasn't negotiable.
You know?
Honor is not negotiable.
No.
Would you encourage? Tell me what you, as a young fellow, would you encourage our viewers right now, those people who maybe have elderly people in their family? Not that anybody's elderly in our family. We don't get old in our family.
Well, actually, I would say, you know, if you have somebody in your family that's a veteran, take the time to just sit down and talk with them, get those, you know, get to hear those stories and get to hear those memories.
And we can record them now.
Yeah.
We can record them. You can get voices on tape. I mean, would you not give anything in the world to hear the voice of Uncle Tom now?
Yes, I would. Yeah. Although I can remember him pretty good.
You'll never stop hearing his voice, will you?
Yeah. He never called me by my name. Always called me boy.
That'll do. Not a man of a lot of words, was he?
No.
What a remarkable trip. There is so much in this book. I cannot encourage you enough to do it, and I'm going to encourage you to buy this book right now. Let me tell you how. Not even buy the book. BCTV, our underwriters of this show, have actually purchased a limited amount of copies of this book. The first 20 of you who actually call BCTV and make your contribution to be a subscriber to BCTV will receive this book, compliments of our underwriter, which is the topical agent. You can also contact me, and I will let you know if you'd like to get this book, to use this book as a fundraiser for yourself. You can do all of that through me, and I'll contact our authors before Oprah gets a hold of them and we never see them again. This book also, by the way, was self-published, and again, I believe everybody's got a story in them, and one of the beautiful things about BCTV is that it does give our community a voice, and your voice is important. Your stories are important. There is an arm now of Amazon.com called Book Surge Publishing, booksurgepublishing.com, where if you have a story, they will assist you in getting it into print like this. Design the cover, edit it for detail. Can you give me about 30 seconds of what, would you recommend a service like this, Ken, after your experience?
Yeah, I would. I think that it gives you the opportunity to see your work in print. I mean, how many people write things down or write a story and it just sits sits either on your computer or sits on a table somewhere. This, I mean, worst case scenario, we have a book to kind of remember our experience by. You know, we have that for forever. I mean, it's in print.
Family reunions, birthday presents, because it's a wonderful legacy to leave to your family. There is so much more that we can tell you. Talk to the people in your family. Hear their stories. And until I see you next time, I'd like to thank Uncle Mark. We all call him Uncle Mark. Kenny, thank you so much for sharing your story and your process. We'll see you all again next time. We'll be back next month with another remarkable Berks County resident and telling their story. And I'm always interested in yours. Give me a call if I can help you, and we'll see you next time. Take care of yourself till then. Be well. Bye-bye.